Well, welcome to the first episode of Rad Repairs. I'm going to start with this Pebble watch. These Pebble watches, the classics and the Pebble steels, sometimes do something called screen tearing. It's something that happens to all of them eventually because they have these little tiny zebra strips that are basically no good. We're going to replace that with a new zebra strip that's larger, thicker. We're going to trim that down to fix. You're going to need a few things before we start. You're going to need a T3 screwdriver for the back of the Pebble. You're going to need one of these to take the watch band off if you don't have a quick release one. I recommend having some tweezers that we'll use later for the zebra strip and a magnet. Be careful with magnets when you work with electronics, but we're just going to use that for the screws. So I recommend first thing you're going to do is you're going to shut down the Pebble watch. Just go to System, Shut Down, and shut it down. This is by the way, these are the exact same steps for the Pebble steel. It just looks a little different, but it's basically the same exact thing on the inside. So we'll start by taking out the 4 screws in the back. Now if you have an original Pebble Kickstarter edition or one of the very first releases, it will not have 4 screws on the back. Those models are adhered, and holy cow are they adhered well. So this is not going to work for you, unfortunately. iFixit has a guide on how to take those apart, but they cannot do it themselves without destroying the screen, and that's a problem. So we just take these little screws out here. We can get them out. This is where our magnet comes in handy. Wow, these are not very magnetized, are they? All right, well, that's why you also keep a little bowl right next to it. So you can just take them all and toss them right inside the bowl. That way we don't lose them. We'll need those later. So you're gonna wanna be very careful when you take the watch apart. Okay, inside the watch is going to be if I can get my finger in there, is going to be the vibration motor just inside the watch. Now, usually you can get your finger in here, and that's all you really need. There we go. All right, now this is the part where you want to slow down. So just inside the watch is that vibration motor, and the vibration motor is attached to the back of the watch. And it's kind of hard to see because this one's really stuck on there, which is good. But there's a little tiny metal motor stuck right on the back. Now just give it a little bit of pressure, just a little bit, and you'll see it pop away from the board. Now that's fine, it's going to get stuck to the back of the watch. And what we're going to do is we're going to take something that's flat, and we're going to use just a little screwdriver bit, flathead screwdriver bit. And you can use a spudger if you have one, but be very careful when you're using metal. So we're going to very gently wiggle that in place and just twist the screwdriver so slightly. You're going to start hearing that adhesive come loose. Now the great news is that the adhesive that's on the board for I almost called it a battery, for this vibration motor, you actually could just put that right back down on there and it will hold very nicely in place. See? Nice. All right, with the single button and the charging ports on the right, what we're going to do is we're going to take that same flathead screwdriver or your spudger if you're not comfortable with that. And there's different types of spudgers you can use. I have a little electronics set here, or excuse me, electronics toolkit here that has a couple different types of spudgers. So you can use this one, or you can use a more flat one like this one. I find this one doesn't have as fine of an edge as I'd like, which is why I tend to use a flathead screwdriver. But you're going to take your flathead screwdriver and you're going to put it somewhere in between these 2 buttons right here. There are a lot of very fragile components in this watch, and you just really want to take your time. You're really not in a hurry at all. Now there's these little tiny clips that are inside the watch that will slowly release their hold. I find this spot right here is pretty good between these two buttons because it stays away from the button itself. So once you get the side up, work your way down to the corner. Remember, we're going really slow, we're really taking our time. We are not in a hurry at all. Oh, you hear that click? That's a good sign. Really gently. Not in a hurry. There we go. So you see there's a board all along this side, which is typically why most people are going to tell you not to use a metal screwdriver. It is up to you. I have done these for a long time, so I'm pretty careful. But your call. Your mileage may vary, as they say. All right. So once the screen and board and everything starts to come away, you're going to gently pry it out. Again, nice and slow. We are not in a hurry. It should come on out. This one has a little bit of adhesive that was stuck down there on the bottom. You might notice that. I'm not going to edit that out because each watch has its own level of adhesive. Now you'll notice that that the zebra strip is not here, which is where you'll find it. It's actually still sitting right here on the watch. Not a terrible thing. You just want to use your tweezers and reach down in there and grab it really carefully away from the front and pull it out. I might clean up a little bit of that adhesive that's still sitting there too while I'm at it. Just to get it out of the way for when we put the watch back. Just a little bit. Pebble did a pretty good job making these watches, but sometimes, there we go. Just a little bit of that adhesive out of the way. Sometimes they add a little bit more here and there for different things. All right. So, I intentionally didn't cut this one so I can show you. Now these are the exact same, so I usually just keep one so that I can cut multiples because I have a collection of these zebra strips at my disposal. Because I wanted to show you how to cut it down to size, and this is not an exact science. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to line up one edge of the zebra strip of the old one to the one edge of the new one. Just hold those still. Take a pen or a marker or something, and you're just going to make a little line right where they meet. Okay, get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. Take your favorite pair of scissors. Very slowly and carefully cut along the line you just made. And that's it. Cuts it right down to size. Now, this is going to be a tight fit. We want it to be a tight fit because that's how the zebra strip is effective, the new one. You can actually just go ahead and put that right back in there. Now this could take a little bit of doing here. Oh, that actually was pretty easy. If you cut it a little longer, it may be a little tighter. You may want to snip just a little bit off the edge, and this one was pretty perfect. So, now we're just going to put it back together. With the charging port on the right, you're going to load like this, up and in, and down. Keep that right side in there best you can. There we go. And just gently push it back into place. You may not hear the clips click. That is totally okay. It is going to be a tighter fit now because of that zebra strip, that new one that's in place. So you may see that it's a little raised. That is totally fine. The back of the watch is going to keep everything nice and secure and in place. All right, that looks pretty good. Take your back, put it back on. You'll hear it kind of clip a little, not too much. Okay, we're going to get our screws back out here very carefully so I don't lose them all. get your torque screwdriver back out. And put the screws back in. I usually like going down just a little bit to where I start to feel some resistance in the screw, and then I'll go to the opposite corner. That way we keep the back nice and even. That way one side's not just poking up and sitting out of the way. All right, now that we've got them all on, don't really crank these down. You don't want to strip the screws. Just give it a little, one last little twist in there to make sure it's nice and tight. All right, now if you did everything correctly, we power back on, and we get a beautiful Pebble screen. And that means your watch will never screen tear ever again. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks. See you next time on Rad Repairs.